Okay, we're here after a short coffee break. It's gotten quite hot in the room as there's no ventilation. That's why the disappearance of the jacket has happened. But again, we're still talking about AI in education, and we just talked about how it was a revolution, and we agreed it was a revolution, a sudden and dramatic change in education. But we can say education is being transformed at the moment. But what do you think is being transformed the most? Is it the teaching? Is it the learning? Is it the assessment, or all of the above?
Well, all of these processes are inherently interconnected. So we can say that all of them are impacted by the rise of generative AI, but perhaps learning the most at this point.
Okay.
Because we should not underestimate the fact that by now many students have already developed a habit for using AI nearly every day for every task. And of course, we don't know how they're using AI. They may also be using it in a good way, but the potential for misuse is just enormous. And in education, we have this notion of a calculating learner.
Oh, what does it mean?
It's someone who always tries to put in minimal effort while also gaining maximum gains.
Maximum output. So like an AI, just put it in, everything out.
Well, yeah, an AI adds some nuance to this situation because right now generative AI can do any learning task nearly as good as an average learner, or usually even much better. So we need to offer something truly beneficial for these calculating learners so that they still see the value of putting in effort and not just outsourcing it to AI. And that's a big question. How can we do that? One of the strategies could be to focus more on instructional design, because as I see it, it can be the most effective way. So imagine if these students are offered a learning environment where every learning task represents a real world problem or an authentic problem. It's already interesting to do this kind of task. And these tasks are arranged in a order with gradual progression. And each task is used to get the most effectively and easily to reaching the learning goal. And when this whole system is equipped with sufficient support mechanism for students, and when also students' cognitive load is considered in instruction so that they are not overloaded and they start with easier tasks and they gradually come to more and more difficult ones with a lot of repetition. So basically I'm just right now referencing to instructional design principles. But imagine this very well-designed learning environment. It will be a joy for many students to study in it.
Yeah.
And then why faking learning if you can actually do something very interesting and relevant?
So the learning environment should motivate students to learn.
Yes, I think so. It should be engaging and effective and efficient at the same time.
And of course, we talked about personalized learning. So if each student has their own learning environment catered to their needs, that would be the dream, would it not be?
I can agree with that.
But most teachers focus on assessment, and you say assessment's not the option. We should not focus on grade, we should focus on the learning environment. However, assessments still need to be done. That's just how our education system works. But the rise of AI has brought many problems. Students are doing assessments with AI and, of course, are plagiarizing works of other people because an AI has learned from others how to learn. But how can we mitigate those risks?
So it's true that the main problem regarding AI in education is plagiarism. But I'm personally quite pessimistic about that. And I don't think that we can completely avoid plagiarism and the misuse of AI in education. So we can certainly talk about the instructional strategies that can be used to address it. But looking ahead, there'll be no single approach for every learner, every study context, every age group. So it's a bit sad for me that no matter how hard teachers try, there will always be some students who game the system. And now it has become so easy with generative AI. So it will be so easy to cheat. Yeah, that's quite depressing.
But of course, you're saying there are instructional guidelines to rethink assessment. So what are some strategies you would propose?
Yeah, just one last thing that I wanted to note previously is that I think it's more rational for educators right now to always assume that students are using AI. But of course, the way they're using it may vary greatly. So, yeah, regarding instructional strategies, one way is to focus on, to reorient ourselves more to process-oriented assessments. So in the literature, there is a suggestion that if we want to assess student learning and not just student skills of using AI, relying only on the product produced becomes insufficient. Yes. So we should not only look at what students submit, but also at how they arrive at the answer. But at the same time, I think these will be so difficult to implement in practice, especially when these projects or tasks are extended over time. So, for instance, when bachelor students are working on a thesis.
Yes.
Of course, what we could ask for maybe to submit some screen recordings of how they're doing a task, or to submit links to interactions with generative AI. But these will likely not help because they can also be easily fabricated if desired.
They'll just say, I used this prompt, but still did something completely different.
Of course, you can always start a new chat with ChatGPT and just submit this chat. This is how I arrived to the answer. So, yeah, I think it's quite pointless to do it this way. There is another technical solution. It's called proctoring systems. They block external websites. So you can see that students are really focusing on one web page. But at the same time, using these proctoring systems for every student assignment is redundant, and it also induces excessive policing practices in education and fosters a culture of distrust towards students.
So it's like a teacher saying, I don't trust you to do the work, so I'm going to look at every interaction you have, whether you got feedback, whether you didn't get feedback, and of course a environment where a teacher says, I assume you cheat, not a very good learning environment.
Yeah, it's really not a welcoming learning environment.
So what would you say is a more effective approach then?
Maybe I would recommend oral assessments, which could complement traditional assessments. Because if students know that they'll be asked a non-trivial question about the product that they submitted, it may serve as an incentive for them to really dig into the topic. And oral assessments can be more reliable even because they're focused on checking student understanding.
Yes.
And not so the way the extent to which students really grasp a topic.
And it's also a conversation you're having at the moment about the material. So as we are doing right now. So
yes. You can of course check my understanding of AI in education.
I'm not doing that. So.
Well, the listeners will do.
Yeah. But
so this is one of the ways, but at the same time, oral assessments are also hard to implement in real classrooms because it's hard to find class time to do them. And especially in large student classes, it's virtually impossible. Another way, another recommendation from the literature is to conduct more pen and paper writing assignments.
Back to the basics.
Yeah, so when a teacher is physically present in a classroom with students and the teacher controls, in a way, that students are not using AI tools. And of course, it's deeply ironic that a response to the rise of generative AI in education is this return to basics, as you said, oral assessments and pen and paper assignments.
But that's just simply the part of assessing a student's skill or knowledge, depending on the course you teach. However, I believe AI has also caused a shift in learning and how we should approach learning with students. And how do you think we can use AI, or how can we learning to students in an AI era?
Yeah, there are also some other instructional strategies that can be used. But here I need to be very cautious because from my professional experience, I've only worked with adult learners. And it's easy in a way because they are intrinsically motivated.
They choose to learn.
Yes. It's like a more conscious choice to learn. And therefore, it's easier for them to resist the temptation of cheating with AI because they chose to learn it. So I can offer some other recommendations or, let's say strategies, but they will mostly apply for older students.
So
like
high school,
university students.
college students. Okay. And what are then some advices you give or can give based on literature?
Yeah, just some food for thought for listeners, let's say. The first one would be, I think it would really help if students could gain a better understanding of how learning happens.
Going to the meta level then.
Yes, indeed, the meta level. And I assume that some students might be misusing AI tools simply because they lack a good conception or just any conception about how learning happens. I'll give you an example. For instance, there are AI tools that help learners to record a lecture, and then they create a very detailed report for students.
So no more note taking then.
Yeah. They do the note taking for you.
Yeah.
Or there is also a myriad of generative AI tools that can read the text for you and then summarize the main points. So while the idea of these tools is appealing maybe to some students, what added value does it actually bring to learning? Because what students outsource to AI in this context are very important tasks for learning. So they are outsourcing processing information, extracting the main points, reorganizing information, and eventually making it your own.
Yes.
So internalizing it, making it your own knowledge. And when all of these tasks are done by AI, what's the point?
There's no learning taking.
Yes. It will be useless for internalization of this information and for long-term retention. But what these AI tools actually do, I think they create false impressions and they create like a false sense of control.
I did the note taking, so I will. Yeah, I have the notes, so I will know what it's about. That kind
exactly.
Of attitude. Yeah.
There is no need to pay extra attention in class. AI will do it for me, and then I'll just contact the notes. Yeah, it's you laugh right now, but many students are using these tools, and I think it's deeply problematic.
So that's then one thing to look out for. What's another one?
Another one, apart from getting a better understanding of how learning happens, is what's called AI literacy skills.
Yes.
So one of these AI literacy skills is maintaining a more critical attitude towards AI. And we've argued already several times that AI can be used in many ways, some potentially beneficial for learning, some potentially really detrimental. So these AI literacy skills they will not solve the problem completely, but they can add another, let's say, 5 or 10% to student learning. For instance, imagine students who prepare an assignment on the invention of the wheel in Mesopotamia.
Okay.
And one student with low AI literacy skills can just ask AI to generate this report, this assignment. And it may contain some factual errors. For instance, it may contain the statement that the wheel was initially used for transportation.
Which most students would say, oh, that's a plausible thing, and just copy it.
Yes, because, learners usually do not have extensive prior knowledge about a new topic.
Yes.
Because they're just learning it right now. But what might help is having a critical attitude towards AI. So one student could just borrow the text completely and will not verify it. And another student with better AI literacy skills will cross-check and verify the main points. And then eventually his or her report will not contain these factual errors.
So it's what you said before, there's good AI use and bad AI use, whereas bad AI use is simply copying it, and good AI use is, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to analyze it, and I'm going to cross-reference it.
Yes, and this is a bit counterintuitive because AI is designed as a tool for enhancing productivity. And why do we need to still work more if we have AI that can just...
But that links back to the first part where we need to teach students why learning is important and how they should learn. And then anything else?
Yes. There was a third strategy that I also thought about. A third
How to help
point.
Students learn.
Yes. Still learn in the age of AI. And I think we should not, by we I mean we as educators, we as teachers, should not underestimate the role of supportive materials.
And with supportive materials, you mean?
By supportive materials, I mean the materials that help to improve students' conceptual and procedural knowledge about how to do a task. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So, for instance, a student is tasked with a task to write a short research proposal for the first time in his or her life.
Okay, so no prior knowledge on writing anything.
Yeah, no prior experience with
better wording.
With writing a research proposal. And if the student lacks a good understanding of what a research proposal is, what its main components are, just how to start this task, where what are the main steps. So if this support is not sufficiently provided in the learning environment, then he or she will likely just turn to AI for help. And in this case, it will be a very innocent goal, just as a part of help-seeking behavior. But as I already said, AI works in a way to enhance productivity. So it will not only answer students' questions, but it will also generate a whole research proposal on students' topic, even if it was not requested. And then the whole game of temptation begins for students. So they already see this text. This text will likely be much better than what he or she may write at that moment. And that temptation to borrow at least some sentences or paragraphs or structure and several paragraphs will be irresistible for some students. And that's what is really problematic about it. Some people may argue, but AI is used for this initial brainstorming and as part of inspiration in many professional contexts. So why can't students do the same? Well, it's very nuanced and it depends on how AI is used. So if students just look at the example of the research proposal and then they close the ChatGPT window.
A very difficult task for students.
Yeah, but also a very brave one. It requires a genuine commitment to learning. And it's also counter-efficient. So if they mainly use it just as an inspiration, their learning can still take place.
Yes.
But if they use it to conduct minor edits, then they will not develop a skill of writing a research proposal. It means that they are developing a skill of editing AI-produced text, which is a totally different skill.
It's not in alignment with the learning goals most of the time. And it's then the task of teachers to be able to support students with those supportive materials. So instead of them looking for an AI for help, they'll look at the supportive material of a teacher saying, oh, this is a good example, use this as an example. These are the different steps you can take into writing a proposal. So that's one thing that needs to get more attention, I believe, in education.
Yes. But I really like the way you rephrased it. It's very precise, I think. But it's also important to understand that some students will still use AI in any case because they have already developed a habit of doing so.
You have the calculating learners.
Learners, for instance, But still, so this strategy will not solve the problem completely, but it could at least help to still ensure that learners learn.
And that's what we're looking for during this podcast.
Correct.
This is just the end of the second part. In the next part, we're going to go into how AI changes education goals just in general and how teachers are influenced. But we're going to take a break because it's already been 20 minutes and then we'll be back with you.
Okay. See you soon.